So can this really help you with this?
Alright, so Dylan, what do you think the importance of Muay Thai has in MMA?
Well, what you have to realize is, what is MMA? MMA is mixed martial arts. And what is Muay Thai? Muay Thai is more or less like the most complete striking you can get. Because as we know, as we say a lot on this channel, Muay Thai is known as the art of the 8 limbs. So I said, run as many times as you can strike with your feet, your knees, your elbows, and obviously your hands. So in MMA is mixed martial arts. So unlike kickboxing, which makes so you can't strike with the elbows, some organizations you can't strike with the knees, and even in Shokujin karate, you can't hit below the belt. With MMA, you know, all the rules in striking that Muay Thai has is the same as MMA.
Definitely. This is like almost a different question to that we often face, is like, what's the best striking? But this, with MMA, you have to take into account to all the strikings.
Exactly.
So it's regardless of the best, we have to think about it as the most effective, and that's really what, you know, encompasses Muay Thai as part of MMA, is that it's so effective because you use so many limbs.
It's just with Muay Thai, you just have so many different weapons. So for example, most knockouts come from the fists.
Yeah.
But with Muay Thai, in MMA you have all these options. You have the options of the knees, the elbows, the kicks. So why wouldn't you learn the art that is trying to sharpen all the tools that you can use in MMA, and it's the same as in Muay Thai?
Definitely, and you find a lot of the striking that's involved in MMA is a lot of the effective striking that's come from Muay Thai. Some of the other martial arts, such as kickboxing, didn't really adapt to using leg kicks prior to MMA. They weren't really looking at, because you couldn't really hit below the waist in certain events. So you find that a lot of the striking that is used in MMA today comes from a lot of the foundations of Muay Thai.
Yeah, because people, like, obviously it's easy to say now, but low kicks have been in Muay Thai for, you know, from the ancient times, you know. But only in the recent 20 years have you seen leg kicks in traditional, like, Western martial arts, like kickboxing, wherever. This was a new thing. The first thing, I can't remember the Muay Thai fighter, but the first fight that showcased the potential Muay Thai with Western audiences in the US was Duke Rufus versus, do you remember the guy's name? The Thai fighter?
Oh yeah, Chang Sung Grit, something along those lines.
He just leg kick. He couldn't use elbows, he couldn't use knees, and I can't remember if he couldn't use knees, but he just leg kicked him to shreds. And that is, you know, I think that is the most important fight for modern MMA now in terms of using leg kicks, because in the 80s you could showcase how powerful Muay Thai is as a martial art.
Definitely, it exposed a lot of chinks in armor in other martial arts, and it's kind of widely referred to as the base for striking in MMA at the moment.
So what is going on, guys? I'm Dylan.
And this is Eli.
And we're the Muay Thai Bros. So in this channel, we're going to have the best Muay Thai information, all the best Muay Thai gear reviews. So if this sounds like something you're interested in,
like and subscribe.
You know, write down any comments you want answered, any questions, and I'll do our best to answer them. So yeah, the thing about Muay Thai, the only caveat we have to Muay Thai for MMA is, the argument is, would you rather use boxing compared to MMA? Because arguably, boxing is better to learn for MMA, but you've got to realize, since MMA is such a big spectrum of sports, it's not like one or the other. You should be training your Muay Thai for MMA and training your boxing.
Definitely, and I think that's what a lot of Muay Thai gyms do anyway. You'll find that you're not just working on the striking and kicking, you're also working on your solo boxing as well.
Of course.
And it's such an important part of Muay Thai itself, boxing. So together they kind of work. It's the same question, because they work together in that sort of circumstance in MMA. But obviously, what changes with this is the footwork and what you can do in and out of the sport. You're not constantly thinking about your leg being kicked out all the time. So it allows you to do certain things and move certain ways. You know, move your head. It allows you to do so much more when you're not being kicked in the legs or have to worry about it.
Because the problem why we would recommend, you know, why Muay Thai is so effective for MMA. For example, you train boxing and then you're like, okay, let me transition to MMA. You're gonna get your legs absolutely destroyed. Because if you're fighting a Muay Thai fighter who knows a bit of jiu-jitsu, whatever, they can tell you're a boxer, and they're gonna leg kick, they're gonna head kick you, they're gonna low kick you. You're not gonna be used to all these different spectrums of where you can get hit. Because a boxer, you can only get hit, you know, in the torso and the face. But in Muay Thai, you can get hit, you know, everywhere, like in MMA. So it's the same spectrum of getting hit, which is why it makes sense to learn it.
Of course, and it's more about the question of, do you have the skills and do you have the knowledge of how to defend those strikes?
Exactly.
So where you would have been exposed to them in Muay Thai, being kicked, being elbowed, being kneed, and being in the clinch, you not necessarily have been exposed to that level of it having just done boxing.
Of course.
You know, but you can get a level of clinching in boxing, but it's more about tying each other
defensive.
up.
It's
Yeah,
like,
it is, and it's used differently as it is in Muay Thai. You know, you can't chip people over. That's a very effective skill.
One thing we haven't even spoken about is the standing grappling in Muay Thai, known as the clinch. Because as Eli can attest, you know, in Thailand, after a heavy 2-hour training session twice a day, you're going to do half an hour, 45 minutes of clinch.
Well, yeah,
so
it's tough.
From this grab from the clinch, you can sweep them so they go to the ground, and that'll be perfect in MMA. You could do a sweep to ground pound, or to top control, what have you. And it's just this standing wrestling that's so common in MMA. You only have to see Anderson Silva use it. I can't remember in the famous fight where he completely destroyed the guy just by doing the Thai clinch and just
very brutal. Yeah, just literally grabbed his neck in the first opening minute and then just kneed him until he stopped. Yeah.
Because if you do predominantly boxing before do training MMA and you don't do Muay Thai, you're not going to know how to defend against the Thai clinch. Yeah,
definitely. But I think it's important to encompass wrestling if you're learning Muay Thai, because the problem with Muay Thai is that you're not allowed to like put a single leg or a double leg on someone, so you wouldn't know how to stop those from happening. So you'd have that.
We still would recommend you learning that wrestling.
Yeah, you would have that gap in the knowledge of how to stop those. But being taken down from a standing position, I think you're all set to go.
That's
once you learn how to
clinch. At least clinch, you know, you're going to be harder to take down than a boxer, for example, because they're used to that someone trying to take them down or trying to trip them up. So what are the problems with learning Muay Thai? Why is it not good for MMA?
There's a few things. I think Muay Thai in itself is a different sport. There's different ways of scoring, you know. So once you adapt to the way of scoring methods, it's going to be difficult for you to change that. There's holes in Muay Thai that, you know, if you've only trained Muay Thai in your life, you'd only ever have been adapted to certain scenarios, right? You're not going to put on a double leg or a single leg. You're never going to be choked out.
You're not going to get used to what other tools that people have in their arsenal.
So you're gonna have adapted to that style of the way Muay Thai, and the way Muay Thai fights go about it's quite, you know, static.
Very static. That's the biggest problem. That's probably the hardest thing to transition to MMA.
Definitely.
They're more like, you know, I think it's basically in MMA you don't want to get hit, or, you know, there's so many. Like boxing is the game of hitting and not getting hit. Muay Thai is the game of responding, hitting, and then making sure that they get payback.
Yeah,
get
definitely.
Payback for that. There's a big difference.
Yeah,
there's a big difference.
No, definitely. And it's a different sport like that. It changes the game, you know, because you're preparing yourself to be hit, whereas in MMA you're constantly on the move, you know, trying to feint out, trying to get a new angle, shoot, exactly, trying to get the dominant position on the other person. The disadvantages of Muay Thai.
Well, as we already said, the fact that you don't train ground game, you don't train submissions, you're not used to sprawling, so, you know, a normal Muay Thai inclination is not to sprawl when someone goes for a double leg or a single leg.
Definitely.
And it's mainly just because we said it's static. Like the reason why boxing is so good is the footwork's so important. So, you know, the transition, the space, the feinting, you know, it's more about the movement, the quickness, you know, in MMA. But obviously Muay Thai, as we said, you can fight like that, but it's more so just that strong tree, you know, taking hits and responding back.
Definitely. I think this is why we haven't seen the Thais really jump into MMA yet. It's because the Thai style doesn't really complement MMA too much yet, where they're together. I mean, the weapons and the techniques are fantastic for MMA, but the actual style of which the fighters, or the way they fight, is a bit different.
But you just have to prove. I would say, you know, I remember seeing a Fight Tips video, and he said about 25% of MMA is Muay Thai. So you got to think there's many Muay Thai fighters now, and obviously one of the best of all time, Anderson Silva. You got Joanna, she's obviously a top, more like kickboxer sort of a Muay Thai fighter.
They're definitely accomplished in the Muay Thai world. The same as one of the phenomenal talents right now, Shevchenko. She's also trains out of
because a lot of these fighters
Tiger Muay Thai.
They'll come to go to Tiger Muay Thai, so of course, like
Tyrone Woodley's trains out there as well.
Because if Muay Thai is good for MMA, it's just, of course it is. It's self-evident.
Is it enough to do by itself for MMA? No, definitely not. You have to encompass different forms of martial art with it, but I think it will save you a long run. I mean, you won't have all the flashy techniques that maybe a Taekwondo person would have, but you'll have the set techniques that you'll need for all the weapons you'll need for a fight. You won't be able to do a 360 spinning tornado kick or nothing, but your roundhouse
will be solid.
will be a weapon.
Because I think more or less we would recommend, if you're training for MMA in terms of striking, you want to do Muay Thai and then boxing.
Yeah, Muay Thai, boxing, definitely boxing for the footwork, and Muay Thai just for the ability to use different strikes, different techniques.
Okay, so we hope you appreciate what we've been talking about, and this is Muay Thai Boys. I'm Dylan.
And this is Eli.
Peace.